The champagne glass slipped from my hand the moment those words left her mouth. Honestly, I wish I'd come single tonight. I'd be having so much more fun. My wife of 17 years, standing in our host's marble-floored living room, saying this to a circle of her girlfriends like I wasn't standing 10 feet away. Like our marriage was just an inconvenient accessory she'd forgotten to leave at home. My name is Cameron Foster. I'm 43 years old, and until that Saturday night at the Hendersons' anniversary party, I thought I knew exactly who I'd married. I was wrong about everything. We'd built what everyone called the perfect life. I ran a successful architectural firm in Denver. Victoria worked as an event coordinator for the city's most exclusive venues. We had a daughter, Sophie, finishing her junior year at Stanford. A house in Cherry Creek that Victoria had decorated like something out of Architectural Digest. Weekend trips to Vail, season tickets to the symphony. All the markers of success that people in our social circle measured their lives against. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Your support means everything, and I love reading your thoughts. And don't forget to smash that like button. It really helps the channel grow. But that night, watching Victoria laugh with her friends while pretending I didn't exist, something crystallized in my mind. The late nights she'd been working. The new wardrobe of clothes that seemed designed for someone other than me. The way she'd stopped asking about my day or sharing details about hers. The distance that had been growing between us like ice forming on a lake. So gradually you don't notice until you're standing on it and it cracks beneath your feet. Victoria, her friend Lauren was saying, refilling wine glasses from a bottle that probably cost more than most people's car payments. You're terrible. Poor Cameron. Oh, he doesn't care, Victoria said, waving her hand dismissively. He's probably relieved not to have me hanging on him all night. Gives him more time to talk about load-bearing walls and construction permits. The other women laughed. I stood there with my bourbon, watching my wife reduce our 17 years together to a punchline. That's when she said it. The words that would change everything. Besides, this is my dream. I'll only cheat on you once. It won't affect our family. She said it like she was discussing a spa treatment or a shopping trip. Casual. Matter of fact. Like betrayal was just another item on her calendar. I don't remember walking out of that party. Don't remember driving home. But I remember sitting in our kitchen at 2 a.m., my phone open to our bank statements, credit card records, phone bills. All the data I'd been too trusting to look at before. When you work in architecture, you learn that the foundation determines everything. And I was about to discover that my marriage had been built on sand. The affair had been going on for 7 months. His name was Tyler Brennan, a commercial real estate developer Victoria had met through work. 38 years old, divorced, the kind of man who wore expensive watches and drove a Tesla and thought that made him interesting. The hotel charges started in February. Always the same place, the Ritz-Carlton downtown. Always on Thursday afternoons when Victoria told me she was scouting venues for clients. I found the text messages on our shared cloud account. Victoria had been sloppy, backing up her phone without thinking about where those backups went. Pages and pages of messages. Planning their meetings. Complaining about me. Making plans for a future that apparently didn't include the man she'd promised to love forever. He's so boring, she'd written to Tyler just 3 days earlier. All he talks about is blueprints and building codes. When was the last time we did anything spontaneous? Tyler's response made my jaw clench. Leave him. You deserve someone who makes you feel alive. Soon, Victoria had replied. After Sophie graduates. I don't want to disrupt her senior year. But yes, soon, I promise. I sat there until dawn, my coffee going cold, building a plan the way I'd build a structure. Foundation first, then the framework, then the details that would make everything hold together. Victoria came home at 4:30 a.m., drunk and disheveled. I heard her fumbling with her keys at the front door, heard her shoes hit the hardwood floor of the entryway as she kicked them off. She was humming something under her breath, probably whatever song had been playing when Tyler had kissed her goodnight in his car. She stumbled into the kitchen and froze. The overhead lights were on, bright and unforgiving. I was sitting at the head of our dining table, the same table where we'd celebrated birthdays and holidays and anniversaries, where we'd helped Sophie with her homework, where we'd made plans for a future that Victoria had decided she didn't want. But it wasn't my presence that sobered her up. It was what I'd arranged on that table. Every hotel receipt, printed and organized by date. Every text message conversation, bound together in a leather folder. Bank statements showing every charge to restaurants I'd never been to, gifts I'd never received. Her phone records with Tyler's number highlighted in yellow. And in the center of it all, divorce papers. Already filed, already processed, already waiting for her signature to make our separation official. "Cameron," she whispered, all the alcohol-induced confidence draining from her face. "What is this?" "This," I said calmly, gesturing to the evidence spread before us, "is the truth. Something you haven't given me in 7 months." She collapsed into the chair across from me, her hands shaking as she reached for the nearest paper. It was a text exchange where she'd told Tyler she loved him. She'd never said those words to me anymore. Hadn't. In over a year. "I can explain," she started, but I held up my hand. "Victoria, I don't want explanations. I want you to understand something very clearly. You said at the party that cheating on me once wouldn't affect our family. But you were wrong. You didn't cheat once. You cheated every single day for 7 months. Every morning you kissed me goodbye. Every night you came home and pretended everything was normal. Every time you told me you loved me while you were planning to leave. Those were all betrayals, and they absolutely will affect our family." The divorce papers were just the beginning. While Victoria had been busy planning her exit strategy, I'd been building something more permanent. I'd spent the previous 12 hours making calls, sending emails, restructuring everything we'd built together in ways that would protect what mattered most. Our daughter, Sophie, deserved to know the truth. Not the sanitized version Victoria would want to tell, but the real story. I'd already called her, had a long conversation about what was happening and why. She'd cried, of course, but she'd also said something that made me certain I was doing the right thing. "Dad," she'd told me over the phone, her voice thick with tears. "I knew something was wrong. Mom's been different this year, distant. I just didn't want to believe it was this." Victoria's event coordination business had been struggling. Not failing exactly, but not thriving the way it once had. She'd been relying more and more on my income, on the stability my firm provided. What she didn't know was that I'd quietly moved our assets. The house was now in a trust for Sophie. Our joint accounts had been legally separated, my earnings protected. The vacation property in Vail that Victoria loved so much? Sold 3 weeks ago, the money safely invested for our daughter's future. "You can't do this," Victoria said, flipping through the divorce papers with growing panic. "This isn't fair. We can work this out. I made a mistake, Cameron. One mistake." 7 months isn't a mistake, I replied. It's a choice. You chose Tyler over our family every single time you met him. You chose your own satisfaction over Sophie's stability. You chose to lie to me every single day while planning your escape. Those weren't mistakes, Victoria. They were decisions. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. "But what about everything we built together? The house, our life, our friends?" "The house is gone. Our life ended the moment you decided to create a new one without me. And our friends?" I pulled out my phone and showed her the screen. "I sent them all the evidence about an hour ago. Everyone who was at that party last night. Everyone who heard you say you wished you'd come single. They now know exactly why you wished that." Victoria's face went white. In our social circle, reputation was everything. Her business depended on connections, on being the woman everyone wanted to plan their events. I just destroyed that in a single email blast. "You're ruining me," she whispered. "No," I corrected. "You ruined yourself. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it." The next few weeks were brutal. Victoria tried everything to reverse what I'd done. She called lawyers, threatened legal action, even showed up at my office building security to escort her out. Tyler Brennan, her great love, disappeared the moment things got complicated. Turned out he wasn't interested in a woman who came with scandal and financial instability. Sophie came home from Stanford for spring break. We spent the week sorting through what was left of our family. She was angry at her mother, devastated by the betrayal, but also clear-eyed about what needed to happen next. "Dad," she said one evening as we were having dinner, just the two of us, "I'm proud of you for not pretending everything was okay. Mom needed to face consequences." Victoria moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. Her event business collapsed within a month. Clients didn't want to work with someone known for breaking vows and destroying families. She tried to reinvent herself, but in our interconnected social circles, there was nowhere to hide. I ran into her 6 months later at a coffee shop downtown. She looked smaller somehow, worn down by the weight of her choices. She was working as an assistant at someone else's event company, starting over from scratch. "Cameron," she said quietly, "can we talk?" We sat outside, two strangers who used to share everything. She told me she understood now what she'd thrown away. Said she'd been selfish, foolish, caught up in the excitement of something new without considering the cost. She'd lost her business, her reputation, her family. Tyler had moved to Seattle and married someone else. She was alone. "I don't expect forgiveness," Victoria said. "I just wanted you to know that I understand now. What I did to you, to Sophie, to us, I understand." I looked at this woman who'd once been my everything, and I felt nothing. Not anger anymore, not even sadness, just a vast emptiness where love used to live. "Victoria," I said carefully, "you told me once that cheating on me wouldn't affect our family. You were wrong. It affected everything. It affected Sophie's trust in relationships. It affected my ability to believe in people. It affected the life we'd built together. And yes, it affected you, because actions have consequences. And you're living with those consequences now." She nodded, tears running down her face. I know that now." "Good," I said, standing up. "I hope you've learned something from this. But Victoria, we're done. Completely done. I've moved on. Sophie's moved on. It's time you did the same." I walked away from her sitting at that coffee shop table, walked away from 17 years of marriage that had ended the moment she wished she'd come single to a party. Walked away from a woman who'd chosen momentary excitement over lasting love. A year later, I met someone new. Her name was Catherine, and she was nothing like Victoria. She was a professor at the University of Denver teaching urban planning. She was brilliant, kind, and most importantly, honest. She'd been through her own divorce, understood the scars that betrayal leaves behind. We took things slowly, building trust one day at a time, one honest conversation after another. Sophie liked her, which mattered more than anything else. We'd have dinner together, the three of us, talking about everything and nothing, building something new on a foundation of truth instead of lies. Victoria heard about Catherine through mutual acquaintances. She tried to reach out one more time, sending me a long email about how she'd changed, how she wanted another chance, how she'd finally figured out what really mattered. I deleted it without responding. Because that's the thing about consequences. They're permanent. You don't get to betray someone for 7 months, destroy a family, and then ask for a do-over when your exciting new life doesn't work out the way you planned. The last I heard, Victoria had moved to Phoenix. Starting over somewhere, nobody knew her story. Maybe that's what she needed. A complete reset, a chance to become someone better than the person who'd stood in a marble-floored living room and casually announced she was planning to cheat on her husband. My architectural firm expanded. We opened a second office in Boulder. Sophie graduated from Stanford with honors and decided to stay in California, working for a tech company. She visits often, sometimes bringing Catherine and me together for weekend trips. We're building a new kind of family, one based on honesty and respect, and the understanding that love requires work, requires choosing the same person every single day. Sometimes I think about that party, about the moment Victoria said she wished she'd come single, about how that one sentence crystallized everything that was wrong with our marriage. She didn't wish for more fun. She wished to be free of me, free of her commitments, free of the life we'd built together. And in a way, I gave her exactly what she wished for. She's single now, free, living whatever life she's managed to cobble together from the ruins of her choices. As for me, I learned something valuable from that brutal experience. Love isn't about excitement or spontaneity or keeping things fresh and interesting. Love is about showing up every day, about choosing your partner even when someone new and exciting comes along, about understanding that the grass isn't greener on the other side, it's greener where you water it. Victoria stopped watering our marriage the moment she met Tyler. She let it die while pretending everything was fine, and when I finally confronted her with the truth, she collapsed under the weight of her own choices. That's what revenge really is, not some elaborate scheme or dramatic confrontation. It's simply allowing someone to face the full consequences of their actions. No safety net, no second chances, no rewriting history to make themselves look better. Victoria wanted freedom. She got it. But freedom without loyalty, without commitment, without the foundation of trust, that's just isolation wearing a prettier name. I'm remarried now. Catherine and I just celebrated our first anniversary. We exchanged vows in a small ceremony with just close friends and family. Sophie was my best woman, standing beside me as I promised to love, honor, and cherish this new person in my life. This time, I know those words mean something. Because Catherine shows me every day that she means them too. Life has a funny way of teaching us what we need to learn. Victoria needed to learn that actions have consequences, that you can't build happiness on someone else's pain, that the excitement of an affair never lasts, but the damage it causes can be permanent. And me? I learned that sometimes the best revenge is just living well. Building something new with someone who actually wants to be there. Choosing happiness over bitterness. Moving forward instead of looking back. The house in Cherry Creek is gone, but I don't miss it. That was Victoria's dream, her vision of what success looked like. Catherine and I bought a smaller place in Capitol Hill, walking distance from restaurants and museums and the life we want to build together. Sophie has her own room for when she visits. We have a garden where we grow vegetables. We have quiet evenings and honest conversations, and the kind of peace that only comes from being with someone who tells you the truth. Victoria is somewhere in Phoenix, living a life I'll never know about or care about. That chapter is closed. The book is finished. There are no more pages to write about her or us or the marriage that died the moment she chose someone else. If you've made it this far in this story, maybe you're dealing with your own betrayal. Maybe your partner said something similar, wished they were free, showed you that you weren't enough. I won't tell you it doesn't hurt. It does. It hurts in ways that change you permanently. But here's what I learned from my experience. Betrayal shows you who someone really is. Not who you hoped they were, not who they pretended to be, but who they actually are when faced with a choice between comfort and excitement, between commitment and freedom, between you and someone else. Victoria showed me exactly who she was that night at the party. She'd been showing me for months, but I hadn't wanted to see it. Once I finally did, once I accepted the truth of who she'd become, the path forward became clear. Don't fight for someone who doesn't want to be fought for. Don't beg someone to choose you when they've already chosen someone else. Don't sacrifice your dignity trying to save a relationship that the other person has already killed. Instead, do what I did. Gather the evidence. Protect your assets. Tell the truth to the people who matter. Let the consequences fall where they may. And then walk away with your head held high, knowing that you gave everything you had to someone who didn't deserve it. Because here's the real secret. The best revenge isn't hurting them back. It's building a life so good that you forget they ever mattered. It's finding someone who appreciates what you offer. It's showing your children that self-respect matters more than keeping up appearances. It's choosing yourself when someone else refused to choose you. Victoria wished she'd come single to that party. I made sure her wish came true. She's single now, free to have all the fun she wanted, free from the boring husband who talked about blueprints and building codes, free from the obligations of marriage and family and commitment. And I'm free too, free from someone who saw me as an inconvenience, free from lies and deception, free to build something real with someone who actually wants to be there. That's the thing about revenge. Sometimes it looks exactly like freedom. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below sharing your thoughts or your own experiences with betrayal and recovery. Your story might help someone else who's going through the same thing. And remember, you deserve someone who chooses you every single day, not just when it's convenient.